So what are the implications of the FBI's raid on Fulton County's elections office? What kind of discrepancies could they be looking for? NTD Steve Land spoke earlier with Seth Keshel. He's a Substack writer and a retired Army captain of military intelligence.
Seth Keshel, thank you so much for joining.
You bet, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining, Seth. So the FBI search warrant down in Fulton County, Georgia, cites a statute which addresses knowing and willful election fraud by officials. What do you think the use of this statute means and really the scope of material seized? Tell us about what federal investigators believe took place and what they're trying to prove.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious just by the nature of a warrant being served at the Fulton County election hub in Georgia. It's clear that there's a very serious investigation ongoing, given that there's a warrant issued in the first place. So the fact that we're dealing with something like that escalates this to a very top level priority, something that a lot of people, including myself, are surprised to have seen gone down. Because, sometimes it seems like things are very slow rolling on the election integrity front. Every activist I know in Georgia, Holly Kessler, great example, absolutely over the moon that this is happening. So clearly, there's been convincing evidence presented way higher up the chain to have resulted in this. And not only that, you have the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, who was there at the raid herself. So this is involving a lot of different agencies. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see action like this in other states that were central to the 2020 steal.
What specific numerical or turnout anomalies have you identified specifically in Fulton County that demand serious scrutiny, and why do they exceed what can be explained by normal statistic variation?
Fulton and DeKalb County make up the core of Metro Atlanta, so they essentially split that vote in half. The core problem with Georgia lies with automatic voter registration, which was put into law. It wasn't even legislation. But Georgia adopted automatic voter registration just before the 2016 election. Did not have enough time for that to sprout a bunch of new registrations, but by 2020 it did. So Fulton County's voter registration growth in 2020 from the 2016 election was over 200,000. It was more than 4 times as high as the average of the 3 previous cycles, which included what I like to call Obama mania, because Barack Obama was extremely popular in Metro Atlanta. So that fed the ability with the increase in mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots went up more than 600% from 2016 to 2020, and you can see it all in the data. So Fulton County, Joe Biden had a larger gain in votes from Hillary Clinton's total than Barack Obama had over John Kerry's total from 2004 to 2008. This is Joe Biden, who did not campaign in a state that the Atlanta Journal-Constitution said was Trump's to lose in September with a lead as high as 7 points. So my estimates, just looking at Obama's gains, which coincided with a McCain loss from Bush, compared to 2020, where Trump actually added 20,000 votes of his own, only to lose far worse because Biden surpassed Barack Obama's gain for net new votes. So most of my figures come out to anywhere from 30 to 40,000 likely fraudulent ballots, counterfeit ballots in Fulton County alone, not addressing Clayton, DeKalb, Cobb, and Gwinnett counties, which are also monstrous counties in the Atlanta metro.
Seth, if you could just quickly break down automatic voter registration and how that factors in to sort of the questionability of mail-in ballots.
So automatic voter registration is a new concept. It hasn't been around long, only about a decade. States started playing with it in 2015. And Oregon was a good example, California. And then by the 2020 election, 20 states and Washington, D.C. had automatic voter registration. So what that means is, you or I may send in a form or go online and register ourselves to vote and provide the proper identification where necessary. Automatic voter registration is something that happens when anyone goes and interacts with a state agency. Usually it's the DMV or a DMV equivalent, whatever state that would be. Some states have expanded that to Health and Human Services Office. In Alaska, you have the automatic voter registration is run through the permanent fund dividend, which is Alaska's oil money. But what that essentially does is it takes people who aren't voting in elections and wouldn't be registered to vote, and it registers them automatically. So these people are still going to be typically non-voters if their behavior all the years is not to vote. But the risk is that it creates more of a credit line in voter registration from which bad actors can match a mail-in ballot request. Or in the 8 states that have what's called universal mail-in voting, those ballots go out to everyone that's registered anyway. So you have people that may not want to vote that get registered through automatic voter registration and then have a ballot assigned to them. Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, those are a few examples. So automatic voter registration states went 18-2 for Biden in 2020, 243 electoral votes to 9. And in 2024, Trump carried every state without automatic voter registration except for New Hampshire.
What discrepancies between these records would indicate improper procurement, casting, or even tabulation of the ballots? And talk to us about voter rolls.
So ballot images is a big one in Georgia. We've had reports of ballot images being deleted for years. I've seen deep dive research going back all the way to 2022 and 2023 about deleted ballot images. Voter GA has had a lot of that. There's another account on X called Mad Libs that has done a lot of research on that particular topic. So ballot images would be able to tell you if ballots have been scanned multiple times. Some of the big reports that we've heard, some of them are secondhand, some of them are more well documented, is that in various counties in Georgia, ballots have been counted 2 and 3 times. Now, of course, we have some notable instances there in Fulton County, but the key to this is the voter registration file, seeing how many names are duplicate, triplicates, or belonging to illegal voters, could be illegal aliens or non-residents who shouldn't be voting in presidential elections, and seeing what cast vote records may show about who or supposedly who voted. Those are things that are just very easy anomalies to identify. Other ones are more difficult. Of course, if you have things that have been destroyed, Fulton County has already come out and admitted that they had improper counting and tracking of their early voting. I think more than 300,000 ballots implicated. I don't think there are 300,000 fraudulent votes in Fulton County, but they seem to have a good listing of all the items that they would need to pick up.
Retired Army Captain Seth Keshel, really appreciate you joining us.
You bet, Steve. Thank you for having me on.